more to you. But today I do just want to bring awareness to people. Number one, about what Crohn's is. And number two, about the support that is available to us, especially here in our community. Omaha is so great. Nebraska is so great about supporting each other. And sometimes we don't know these things are out there. So I'm going to actually turn the platform over to you, let you kind of introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How'd you grow up? And where did life take you to get you to this point, if you don't mind sharing?
Okay. Well, Taylor, as you said, my name is Jason Anderson. I'm the executive director for the Nebraska, Iowa chapter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The foundation is a national foundation headquartered in New York, and we have chapters all across the country. Our chapter serving all of Nebraska and Iowa, it's a pretty good size area that we cover. Right. And we estimate there are probably about 48,000 patients in Nebraska, Iowa, who are affected by Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis.
Wow.
Because they estimate that about 1 in 100 people have one of the diseases. So I grew up in Nebraska, a small town, Davenport. Grew up, did all the things, right? In a small school, you do all the sports, you're in the band, the choir, the school plays, all the stuff. Went to Hastings College, did track and field there because that was something I had really liked in high school and did well enough in that I got to do it in college. Met great friends, met my wife. She played volleyball there at Hastings. And right as we were getting ready to start, like the life stuff, I started feeling sick and started feeling really bad. I was in my second year of working for the Boy Scouts, my first job out of college. And it was the summer that we were going to get married. We were getting married in August of 2001. And starting in about May, I started to get kind of sick, and the kind of sick you don't like to talk about, right? Like I had to go to the bathroom all the time. And I didn't have a family doctor yet because I was new to Lincoln, and guys don't go to the doctor, right? We don't need to. It's fine. It'll be fine. And that worked for a little while. And then I went and I visited my wife's family doctor. She was from Lincoln. So I went and visited him, and he said, "Oh, I think it's just stress. You got a lot going on in your life. Eat more fiber. You'll be fine." Well, that wasn't great guidance. Didn't really help me at all. Over the course of that summer, I lost over 30 pounds. On the night of our rehearsal, I was sweating so bad, and everyone's just like, "Wow, Jason's really stressed about this whole wedding thing." Like, no, I'm not. I'm super excited about this whole wedding thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. And so actually that night we had our rehearsal. We're at our rehearsal dinner with all of our friends and family and our wedding party. And we're like, "Hey, sorry, groom needs to go to the emergency room." And so went to the emergency room, finally met a doctor who has become our family doctor and still is. And, he filled me with enough fluids and stuff that I could get through the wedding. And then he connected me to a GI. He said, "You need to go see a GI and get stuff sorted out." So on September 12th of 2001, so the day after the world changed, I learned I had ulcerative colitis.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh, okay, what's that? And again, in typical guy fashion, I just kind of said, "Okay, whatever. I take medicine for that. Okay, good. Let's start the medicine. Let's go." And I took the medicine. I felt better. And that was that. Let's just keep moving. So now I'm newly married, still a fairly new young professional, and I've been told I have a chronic illness. I take the meds. I'd have a flare up at least 3 times a year. And I thought, well, this is just going to be normal. A flare up meant that my trips to the bathroom increased dramatically. My energy level went way down. I felt sick to my stomach almost all the time, but I kept working. I kept doing my thing, and I didn't share really with anybody what was going on because I didn't want to talk about it. It's a bathroom disease. I didn't want to tell people that, well, yeah, hey, I got to stop, guys. I need to go to the bathroom. Or, hey, sorry, excuse me from this meeting. I need to go use the restroom. It was embarrassing. And my close circle knew, but I didn't talk about it with my coworkers. I didn't talk about it with all my volunteers and stuff. It wasn't something I wanted to share.
Right.
Well, as time went by, we had children, and that was a whole nother thing. I had to change up my medication and everything in order for us to get pregnant safely, and getting off your meds really messes everything up.
Yeah.
And so I went through times then again where I'd be in a bad flare up, might miss a whole week of work, might drop another 10, 15, 20 pounds really quickly, which, might sound like a great weight loss plan, but it doesn't work out that way. Losing weight in that way isn't a healthy thing or a good thing. And it sucks out all your energy and your desire to do anything fun. So we got through all of that. And in the process, I learned that I was not a very good patient. So I started to try and ask more questions and be a little bit more involved. And having Crohn's or ulcerative colitis means you get to have a lot of colonoscopies. They recommend, right, you start having a colonoscopy when you're 45. Well, try, you need to start when you're like 23. And oh, by the way, come back next year, and then come back again next year. And maybe we can stretch this time out to 3 years. And before you know it, having a colonoscopy is like a regular trip to the doctor. It's not fun, but it's the way it works. Well, after one of my regular visits, my GI said, "Hey, I think we need to remove your colon." And I was like, "Well, hold on, stop. I have been paying attention now, and this is not something we've talked about. What changed?" He said, "Well, Jason, we have not been able to really control the inflammation in your colon very well. So there's a lot of pseudopolyps. And given the fact that your dad had colon cancer, I don't feel comfortable saying that you're cancer free, because I don't know what pseudopolyps I need to test." So at that point, we brought in a specialist from the Mayo Clinic because I asked for a second opinion. He sent me to that specialist at the Mayo Clinic, and the very first thing she said was, "Jason, why have you never changed your medication?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "I can look at your chart, and you've never changed your meds. You've never had your disease under really good control. What's the deal?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I felt fine." She's like, "You couldn't feel fine." And she called my GI right there with me in the room and said, "Why have you never changed Jason's medicines?" He kind of said the same thing. "I don't know." We trust our medical professionals, and our medical professionals are very good, right? But sometimes they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And if you as a patient aren't advocating for yourself and, really pushing for, "Hey, I don't feel as good as I think I could. Can we try something else?" Well, then there's only so much that your doctor can do to help you, right? So that was a real eye opener for me. And she changed my medicine at that time. She put me on a biologic, and it was the best I'd felt in more than a decade. And I was kicking myself. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I could have been feeling like this." So that I was on that biologic for 13 months. That was amazing. I felt so good. I didn't realize I could feel that good. And having young kids, it was super exciting to feel that good, because it wasn't, "Oh, sorry, Dad's going to sit on the couch this weekend because I don't feel the greatest and I have no energy." I was out doing all the fun stuff. Well, 13 months, it worked amazing. And then it just stopped. And I'm like, "Oh, hey guys, what's going on here? This isn't helping anymore." So went and did blood work, and my body had built up antibodies to the medicine. That's a challenge that can happen with the biologics, as your body says, "Well, wait a minute, I don't think this is supposed to be here." So it fights it and gets it out. That's the whole problem with an autoimmune disease, right? It's not that your immune system is horrible. It's just that your immune system keeps fighting against itself. And so all of a sudden, this medicine that was helping me to feel good and helping my inflammation be under control, my body decided that the medicine was the problem. So I had to switch to a different medicine. And on that one, I could never get off of prednisone. Prednisone is a steroid. It's a great way to fight the inflammation in your body, but prednisone also has a lot of other side effects that go along with it. It can be kind of nasty, especially long-term
Yeah.
usage of prednisone. And for a long time for Crohn's and colitis patients, prednisone was a very heavily prescribed method of treating. And it is effective. I mean, I felt better, but I also knew that I couldn't stay on prednisone all the time because I didn't like the way I felt when I was on it. I
Yeah.
liked the fact that it kept my disease symptoms under better control, but I didn't feel good. I was sweaty and hot and hungry and angry, and I didn't like it. So I went back to my specialist at the Mayo Clinic because now my regular colonoscopies were there. I traveled all the way to Rochester, Minnesota for those treatments because I needed a more advanced colonoscopy than what my local provider could do. And I said, okay, what are the odds that I'll have to have my colon removed? And she's like, oh, Jason, 75-80%, your colon is garbage. So in 2018 and 19, I went through a 3-surgery process to remove my colon, create what's called a J pouch from my small
Hmm.
intestine. Basically, I took my small intestine, stretched it down, made it in the shape of a J. That's why they call it a J pouch, and told it to go act like a colon. So that 3-surgery process, I had a surgery in November of 2018, in February of 2019, and June of 2019. And right in the middle of all that, our youngest daughter, or our oldest daughter, Taryn, she was 14 at the time, she got diagnosed with Crohn's. Well, it changed our perspective quite a bit because when it was me, I was fine not talking about it,
Yeah.
not making a big deal about it. I had went to a support group a couple times, as I was getting ready for my surgery because I wanted to know what to expect. But we had never done the Take Steps walk or been involved with the foundation very much at all.
Hmm.
But when Taryn was diagnosed, it made it way different. While Taryn was in the hospital, she was in the hospital for almost 20 days, I think, when she was first diagnosed. She got down to 57 pounds. It was really scary.
Oh.
But Taryn right away said, there's going to be a cure in my lifetime. The Children's Hospital had shared information about the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation with us. And Taryn right away said, I want a walk team. And she started her walk team. She named it Taryn's Tiptoers. She came up with a quote that she wanted. She designed a t-shirt and she said, we're going to raise money for Crohn's and colitis because there's going to be a cure in my lifetime. And I looked at that and said, wow, that's a way different approach than what I took. And that's probably a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So we started to get involved. Taryn went to a walk, the Take Steps walk in Omaha that year, and she loved it. She loved being a part of that community and knowing that there were other people going through the same things that she was.
Right.
She was selected to be the honored hero of the Lincoln Take Steps walk in 2021. And at that time, we started becoming a lot more engaged in fundraising and learning about advocating. I actually was running a support group in Lincoln, which that was a big stretch for me to go out and put myself out there and lead a support group for others to talk about their disease and try and help them to navigate. And during that time, I was still working for the Boy Scouts. I started meeting with Aaron Castens, who had been the executive director of the Nebraska, Iowa chapter. And both of us being nonprofit professionals, we talked a lot of shop. We talked about fundraising and donor development and boards and all that kind of stuff. And when an opportunity came up for him to advance within the foundation, he called me and said, hey, I think you might want to apply for this job. And that's kind of how we got to where we are now. I became the executive director for the Nebraska, Iowa chapter in April of 2022. So I'm almost at 2 years with the foundation. And I love what we do. I love being able to talk to patients and their families, help them navigate their journey, learn about the resources that are on the foundation website, the opportunities to be a part of the community through our walks. Our chapter has 3 walks that we run. We run an Omaha Take Steps walk. This year, that walk is June 15th at Warner Park. We have an Iowa Take Steps walk in Des Moines. And that is actually the very next Saturday, June 22nd. And then we have a Lincoln Take Steps walk that happens in the fall. This year it's scheduled for the Lincoln Children's Zoo on Saturday, October the 12th. Those 3 walks are really important. They build the community. They help people have a place where they can be around other patients, hear their stories, learn about the advancements that are happening, and do important fundraising that helps us raise the necessary funds to fund the education, research, and advocacy efforts of the foundation. We also have our Night of Champions Gala. And Taylor, that was what you had mentioned. Our
Right.
gala event has become an amazing event in Omaha. That it started out as an event that had about 150 people attend, and now we're averaging about 450 to 475 attendees. And this last year, we raised over $440,000 to
Wow.
benefit the foundation's efforts. So we are fortunate to be in Omaha, and the support that we have in Omaha and Nebraska and Iowa for the Crohn's and colitis community is pretty amazing.